So let's start off by creating a new project and I'll take you through the entire Revit UI. So let's click on new here. So when you click on new for the first time, you'll be introduced with this window where you can select the right template for your project. So we have different templates. In our case, let's go with architectural template. So let's select architectural template and we're going to create a new project and not a new project template. We'll talk about project templates later in the course. For now, let's create a new project and click on OK. Now, in your case, when you've created a new project, you would generally find your project browser stacked below your properties window here. So I would highly recommend that you click and drag your project browser. So click and hold down your mouse and drag it and dock it to the right here. I always like to keep my properties window here to the left so I can see more of the property parameters. And I'd like to keep my project browser window on the right. Now, what is the project browser window and the properties? Now in Revit, when you want to create views, sheets, and a whole lot more, you will find all these views and sheets sitting under the project browser. This is how you sort out your project through views and sheets. Now in the previous versions, you generally had only your all window here and all the views, legends, schedules, sheets stacked one below the other. But in the new version, you can sort it out by, for example, views, legends, schedules, sheets, families, and groups, and also links. So it's easier to go through, for example, just the views here and select the right view and then open it up here. By the way, this is where the magic happens. This is your work window. This is where we'll need to create our project. We'll talk more about this once we get into the project. And what's also interesting is when you double click on a view here. So when I double click, it opens the corresponding view in our work window. So you can see level 1, it opens as a tab and you can also switch between the views here. Or when you double click, it always switches this way as well. Let's close our tab window here. So click on close. Now, each time you open a view, it opens as a tab window. So for example, when I open level 1, site, and what generally happens, it populates this bar here with a lot of tabs. But there is a quick shortcut which would help you close the other inactive tabs. So right now, this is the active tab, site is the active tab. And if you want to close the inactive tabs, right on top is the quick access toolbar. And you can click on close inactive views here. You can notice that all the inactive views gets closed automatically. Now, what's very important on the left is our properties window here. So in Revit, each and every element has parameters, and all these parameters, you would find it under the properties window. Now, for example, even your views, for example, this site view has parameters and all these parameters sit under properties. What's interesting is when you select an element in Revit, so I'm just going to click once on this elevation here, this elevation symbol. You can notice that the properties window changes and now I see only the properties for this elevation window. Let's say, for example, I select this symbol here. Now you can notice I see the properties for this project base point. We'll talk about this project base point and more later, but just to show you guys how the properties window changes each time you select an element. And what's interesting is when you click outside on the work window here, I've deselected everything. And now I see the properties of this view, which is the site view. So you can notice I'm using 1:100. The display model is normal and a whole lot more. We'll talk about these settings later as well. So that's very important to be aware of, where when you select an element, you see the corresponding properties of this element. And when you deselect any element and only the site view is active, you see the properties of the site view. So that's very important to be aware of as a beginner.